with the story of Benjamin Bunny. One morning, a little rabbit sat on a bank. He pricked his ears and listened to the pony. Kate was coming along the road. It was driven by Mr. McGregor. Beside him sat Mrs. McGregor in her best bonnet. As soon as they had passed, little Benjamin Bunny slipped down into the road and set off with a hop, skip, and a jump to call upon his relation, who lived in the woods at the back of Mr. McGregor's garden. The wood was full of rabbit holes, and the nearest, sandiest hole of all lived Benjamin's aunt and cousin, Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. Old Mrs. Rabbit was a widow. She earned her living by knitting rabbit wool mittens and muffins. I once bought a pair at a bazaar. She also sold herbs and rosemary and rabbit tobacco, which is what we call lavender. Little Benjamin did not very much want to see his aunt. He came around the back of the fir tree and nearly tumbled on top of his poor cousin Peter. Peter was sitting by himself. He was poorly dressed in a red cotton pocket handkerchief. Peter, said little Benjamin in a whisper, who has got your clothes? Peter replied, the Scarecrow, Mr. McGregor's going. And described how he had been chased out the garden. He dropped his shoes and coat. Little Benjamin sat down beside his cousin and assured him that Mr. McGregor had gone out, and Mrs. McGregor also, and certainly for the day she was wearing her best bonnet. Peter said he hoped it would rain. At this point, old Mrs. Rabbit's voice was heard inside the rabbit hole calling, Cottontail, Cottontail, fetch more chamomile tea. Peter said he thought he might feel better if he went for a walk. They went hand in hand and got upon a flat top of a wall at the bottom of the wood. From here we looked down into Mr. McGregor's garden. His coat and shoes were plain to be seen upon a scarecrow topped with old hair. Peter said it spoils people's clothes to squeeze under the gate the proper way to climb that pear tree. Peter fell head first, but it was of no consequence, as the bed below was newly raked and quite soft. It had been sown with lettuces. I left many great little footmarks all over the bed, especially little Benjamin, who was wearing his clogs. Little Benjamin said that the first thing to be done was to get back Peter's clothes, in order that they might be able to use the pocket handkerchief. They took them off the Scarecrow, where they had been in the rain during the night. There was water in his shoes, and the coat had somehow shrunk. Benjamin tried the old camp janitor, but it was too big for him. Then he suggested that they should fill in the pocket handkerchief with onions as a little present for his aunt. Peter didn't seem to be enjoying himself, but he kept hearing noises. Benjamin, on the contrary, was perfectly at home. He ate lettuce leaves. He said that he was in the habit of coming to the garden with his father for lettuce for their Sunday dinner. The lettuces were certainly very fine. Peter did not eat anything. He said he'd like to go home. Presently he dropped half the onions. Little Benjamin said that it was not possible to get back up the pear tree with a load of vegetables. He led the way boldly towards the other end of the garden. They went along a little walk on planks under the sun, red brick wall. The mice sat on their doorstep, cracking cherry stones. They winked at Peter Rabbit and little Benjamin Bunny. Presently, Peter had let go of the handkerchief again. They got amongst the flower pots and the frames and the tubs. Peter heard noises worse than ever. His eyes were as big as lollipops. He was a step or two in front of his cousin, and suddenly he stopped. This is what those little rabbits saw around the corner. A cat. Little Benjamin took one look, and then in half a minute, no less time, he hid himself and Peter underneath the onions in a very large basket. The cat got up, stretched herself, came, took a look at the basket. Perhaps she liked the smell of onions. Anyway, she sat on top of the overturned basket. She sat there for 5 hours. Not drawing a picture of Peter and Benjamin under the basket, because it's quite dark, because the smell of onions was fearful. It made little Peter Rabbit and little Benjamin cry. The sun got round behind the wood. It was quite late in the afternoon. Still, the cat sat on the basket. At length there was a pitter-patter, pitter-patter. Some bits of mortar fell from the wall. The cat looked up and saw old Mr. Benjamin Bunny prancing along the top of the wall of the upper terrace. He was smoking a pipe of rabbit tobacco and had a little switch in his hand, and he was looking for his son. Old Mr. Bunny had no option and no opinion whatsoever of cats. He took a tremendous jump off the top of the wall onto the top of the cat, pushed it right off the basket, kicked it into the greenhouse, scratching off a handful of fur. The cat was much too surprised to scratch back. Old Mr. Bunny had driven the cat into the greenhouse, and he locked the door behind him. Then came back to the basket, took out his son by the ears, and then he took his nephew Peter, and he took the handkerchief of onions, and marched out of the garden. Then, when Mr. McGregor returned home, about half an hour later, he observed several things which perplexed him. It looked as though some person had been walking over his garden at pair of clogs, only the footmarks were ridiculously too little. But also he could not understand how the cat could have managed to shut herself inside the greenhouse and locked the door from the outside. When Peter got home, his mother forgave him, because she was so glad to see that he had found his shoes and coat. Cottontail Peter folded up the pocket handkerchief, and old Mrs. Rabbit strung up the onions and hung them from the kitchen ceiling.